Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of Manjaro Linux Guy coming at you from Denver, Colorado. Today we got a special treat for you in that we have a new series we're starting out on. We're going to review all the main distros of Manjaro. Recommended by one of our listeners to try it, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Why not? Today we're going to be looking at i3 and Sway since they're both related, and we're going to take a quick peek at each one of them, see what they have on the desktops. First, we're going to look at their website so we can show you where to go to get stuff if you want to look at it, try it out yourself, whatever you want to do with it. So we'll go here to our screen, look at the website. Here is Manjaro's web page, and yeah, so to get to where you go, try Manjaro, download. You go up here to feature editions. Click on that, you have your official repositories. We'll review those later. GNOME, KD Plasma, XFCE. We're going to review the community ones. Tier 2, Bungie, Cinnamon, Deepin, Stable, i3, Mate, Sway. Those are the community editions. We'll review all those 9 distros. I downloaded all the ISOs for them. So that's where you go to get them if you want to go get them yourself. Today we're going to be looking at i3 and Sway, as I said before. So let's get to it. Now this is the login screen. You say, hey, what happened to the thing? I'll show you that in a minute. You had to actually put an xrender command in the config file in order for it to show up right every time. So Manjaro Linux guy, and there you go. Pops back into place like it should. If you just do it on the just do it in the terminal xrender, or you do it on display, it'll switch back next time you log out and log back in, or you restart your config file or system. So, yeah, one of the cool things about this version is that this is what it pretty much looks like straight out of the box. You don't have to do anything to it. It's usable just as it is as it comes out. Use this little clunky description down here, some of the mod keys, cheat sheet, so to speak, little cheat sheet with the various key bindings that you have that will create things for you, how you move around in the workspaces and send workspaces and switch to workspaces, and gives you 3 different menus here. Your D menu, which is basically your D menu. That's what it's called, D menu. So yes, if I want to go to Pale Moon, which is the default web browser on this system. You can always change it. And you just start Pell, and when you hit Pell in there, you just hit enter and run it. So, sort of like Rofi. Rofi's kind of replacement, a little bit more of a graphical replacement for dmenu, but it runs pretty well if you want to use it for dmenu. Some people like dmenu better than Rofi. Some people like Rofi better than dmenu. I fall in the latter camp personally. So I will probably install Rofi on here. In fact, I did install Rofi on here. Yes, I did. I just haven't enabled it in the config file yet. Why don't we go check that out here in a minute. First, let's see what we got down here. We have on our bar, this is called the i3 bar. We have workspaces over here, workspace 1. You go to workspace 2. See it changes. Workspace 3, 4, so on and so forth, on down the line. And if you have anything running in workspace, it'll show up there in a different color so that you know there's something in that workspace. The other thing it has over here is CPU. Shows CPU at 2%. Disk space, remaining disk space, free space is 19.2 gigabytes. I gave this virtual machine 30 gigabytes. Someone's got left of it. And then it shows your LAN IP address, 100 megabyte bits. Shows no battery. This is where you would have your battery if you had a laptop. Since on a virtual machine, even though it is on a laptop in a virtual machine, it still thinks it doesn't have a battery. It's your memory here. And this is, yeah, if you run HTOP, it gives you a little bit different figure. We'll look at that in a minute. Yeah, this would be memory. It'd be 266.5 megabytes out of 3.4 gigabytes. Not that totally accurate, but it's pretty close. There's date, time, your flip there, where your tells you got your Ethernet cable connected here, which really, since it's a virtual machine, it always assumes you have Ethernet cable. The host machine's actually running on the Wi-Fi, but if you have Wi-Fi connected up on a real machine, that's ready to show up too. Here's your update thing, systems update, because I read all the updates on this, which is quite a few when I started out. And you have finally your volume master over here. So that's all those things there. This clock up here shows you the date and shows you what's running in CPU and how much is taken up on RAM and how much you use to swap files. There's your Manjaro. It tells you got a 5.10.4 kernel, 41 kernel. And so here, let's look now. Tiling window managers. i3 is a little bit different than some of them in that yeah, it tiles, and then you can hit it like you hit. Say you wanted to tile it vertically, then at that point you hit Control, not Control, but you hit Meta V is in Victor, and it'll start tiling vertically like that. Hit Meta H, and it changes back to tiling horizontally. See? Yeah. And then it says you can close windows by hitting the Meta Shift Q. I have to admit I changed it to Shift Meta Q. It's a lot easier to do with one hand than having to finagle it with 3 keys with one hand or 2 hands, whatever. It's easier for me to do that way. That's why I do that. We already looked at the kernel, so we need to do that. Now this has, I think, a default termite. Is it terminal? Terminal? It is a depreciated terminal, so you might want to change it to something like Kitty or Alacrity. Either one you can do through Pacman pretty easily. I personally just go with Kitty myself. I like Kitty. So like which no Kitty in here. No Alacrity there either. So we'll install sudo Pacman. We'll install Kitty on there. Just like that, we have Kitty installed. Almost. About to happen. It'll be a moment now, any second. Boom, there it is. Kitty's installed. Took longer to download, did to install it, didn't it? Yeah, so you got Kitty installed there, and now when we get into the config file, we'll change that. And we'll go take a look at the config file. Won't really get that deep into it, but we'll look at it real quick. Now, the one thing about this is most time I messed with i3 window manager and other distributions and stuff, they've usually stored the configuration file in .config/i3/config file. This one's a little bit different and it takes an alternate route. One of the other options is you can put it in .i3/config. So that's where we gotta go here because this is where they put it. If you stick another config file in config/i3/ that directory, you're going to have them conflict and you're going to lock up your system. You don't want to do that because then you have to start over. Okay, so we're going to do nano.i3.config. And here is the i3 config file. See here, you can set the mod key to alternate if you want instead of super. Super is mod 4. That sets it mod super. If you want to use alternate key instead, you can set it mod 1. Set default desktop layout is tiling. You can also set it stacking or tabbed. And yeah, so then you got your border styles. You change your borders. Down here you got a section that controls your volume. Screen brightness controls. These are key bindings to start your applications. Not an auto start, but to start them. When you're ready for it, you hit the key binding, boom, it goes into it. So like here you have Pale Moon there, mod F2, see if that works or not. Never has yet. Oh yeah, there it goes. There's Pale Moon starting up. Took a moment, apparently. Okay, I hate that little thing there. So, Pale Moon and mod F3 start your PC and Man FM file manager. Or you can use your, you also use Ranger, as you saw Ranger's installed in here out of the box. So those are applications. You want to add any to it to add another keybind, that's where to put those. And then you've got mouse follows, alternate use cursor keys, go up and down, focus windows, and you have all these keybinds here from your navigation, different windows, and here's your stacked, tabbed toggle split. Either some defaults mod E, you can also use mod W, mod S. So like for instance, if I put this here, these three of them, this is what's called toggle split layout. So we can also toggle stacked. Yeah, I think the first one. Here we have our thing. Or you can go toggle tabbed, which is mod W. There your tabs. So you can go dupe and dupe. Mod E will select back over to where you started. Where did you please? Whoops, I just walked out our config. You open applications in floating mode automatically. Some things like calculator, for instance, you don't want that in big full screen mode because it looks really weird. Matter of fact, we probably have to put that in here, I think. So yeah, that's where you'd enter anything you wanted to float. There's your lock. Now the lock mode in this is interesting. You just push your mod 0 keys and L to lock it. Here's where you can shutdown. I don't know why I didn't do it this way before, but I'm going to change this to D. You change it here, and this is the display that shows it. Go down here to switch to your Shift S mode. And you just press. There you go. So now if you just press D on there, you get your shutdown mode without having to do Shift S and all that kind of weird stuff. And you have auto, here's where you put your auto start applications. See, here's where I put my X render statement right here. Execute always. I didn't even see execute always. It put that in there for me automatically apparently. Go startup ID X render /S and your dimensions you want it to be pixel wise. I have this screen is 1920 by 1080 high definition screen, so I put it there and boom, I got it. That's where you put if you have another application you want to start up automatically when you log in. That's where you stick it right there, right there. Now, then you have other colors you can put in, that kind of thing. I don't know how much. I just usually leave those as default for the most part. Yeah, I changed the color of my terminal. Even say it right. It sounds like turtle terminal. Anyway, yeah, so you have theme colors there, background, focused, unfocused, urgent, placeholder, all that kind of stuff. Client background, setting for I3 gaps. So that's your configuration file for the most part. We'll save that. Okay, so I determined that this is where you put the terminal in there. And it's return exec kitty. That's where that's at. So we got down here, it's where I changed from mod shift Q to mod Q. That kills your terminal window. And right here, mod D, this is where your D menu operates. And what I usually do here is I go to home, mark that, and I'll do Control K and U twice. I go up here and I'll put that there. That just makes it so that I know that if I need to, I can always switch back to D menu. But then I'll go and change this one to a Rofi. A Rofi dash show DRAM. Pretty sure this one's actually we'll find out in a minute, won't we? So we'll save that. We'll go back. So we'll see how PayPal gets on. Oh, we're still in here, so PayPal must have not had any errors. No big error message popped up on it. Or lock screen, yeah, so we can tell. So the Rofi should be out. If Rofi's effective, we should be able to hit on D. There you are. Rofi's ready to go. Rofi is a nice one for me personally because I can restrict to just the actual programs that are on your system rather than all the little libraries and all that kind of stuff that you get with DRAM, with D menu. So yeah, so you get some of that in here, but mostly it's all actual programs you can run for the most part. So you got desktop preferences. Actually on to begin with, Here's your desktop size, your widgets, apply your color, icon themes, mouse cursor, fonts, others. There's where you can customize your look and feel a bit more, a little more fine control over it. And you can customize your fonts, size fonts, all that kind of good stuff. Alright, now we're going to show you another thing or two, and then we'll shift over to Sway for a bit more on that front. So I wanted to also show you nitrogen. So we'll pop this up here in the nitro wallpaper selector. So this is a selection of wallpapers you have. You got glowing lake, future, Dutch sunset, black. Let's see what it looks like. Nice, isn't it? There's our i3. It looks professional, doesn't it? You notice? So, with that said, let's go take a peek at Sway and sway with the music. And here we are on our Manjaro Sway desktop. Yeah, that's what it looks like pretty much out of the box. Now, if you open up, first time I opened this up, the bar up here wasn't up here. And all I had to do to fix that was to press Shift Meta C, Meta Shift C. That enabled the bar and popped it up because that reloads your configuration file basically. And once I did that, it popped up bar. We have over here in their config bar, it's actually called a Way bar. The i3 is i3 bar, status bar. This is a Way bar. Yeah, way better, huh? Anyway, yeah, this is where you'd see your Wi-Fi connection if you had a Wi-Fi connection. Since it's in a virtual box, it only shows the Ethernet cable. There's your percentage of CPU used, your memory, your Z's. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Deactivated, that's why it's still snoozing apparently. You got the date and time right there. If I go to workspace 2 or 3, or 6, whatever, it'll show that there, and it'll show if there's some in it, it'll leave a spot there for it, like open up a terminal on this one, and then I go to workspace 2, open up another terminal there, see how one's still sitting there, or 5, open up something else there, then all will stay there. Sway is basically uses i3, it's a fork of i3 with Wayland compositor added to it. So a lot of the basic key bindings in i3 work in Sway as well. So yeah, your mod enter, start your terminal on there. Now to close out a window, you push Meta Shift Q. Or here in this, let's see what kind of kernel we got on here, huh? Let's see. So it's got a 5.10.36 kernel, Manjaro standard kernel. So we use long-term support kernel basically. And the terminal that I got on here, I think is Kitty, if I remember correctly. I don't know if, I think Kitty came installed out of the box on this, so I'm not mistaken. Let's see, echo term. And yes, the termite is the terminal here. Now you can see Kitty is available to use. It's already installed. So this uses the Wofi. Yeah, you just type on their preferred applications, which you see it's right down there. That's how you can GUI into this. And the only problem is it only has mail and web browser system applications. I guess those are the only two that would be configured on the GUI, I guess. All the rest are configured in the configuration file. Let's go to the configuration file, take a peek at that, and see what we got, huh? Yeah, I'll show you because it's different from i3 really. Now I have to warn you though that in a etc directory on your root drive, etc there's a configuration file for Sway as well. etc slash sway slash config is configuration. Now that's more like a traditional i3 configuration file, but if you go over here to on your home directory to you go to cd config sway, yeah, and you see you got a config file, you got a config.d directory there. So we go into nano, and yeah, I've been messing with config. That's all the config file you get, because what it does is it basically includes all the things from other config files. At first it goes through and includes the definitions from etc sway definitions. Then it goes through and it pulls in the outputs and inputs from the etc directory sway. And it also enables modes from etc directory. So yeah. Then you can enable this if all applications you use are compatible with Wayland, otherwise just leave this alone. And yeah, so then it also includes all of the exec sway config.d. So most of what gets pulled except for this last line includes a home config sway config d. So it includes everything in there is the last thing. So if I'm correct, anything in here would override whatever's in there. I'm correct. So any changes you want to make, you need to make sure you do either this or this one. These two files will be the ones you want to make changes on primarily in these directories. And this is what you're probably the main one that you want to use. So we have to go over to our config directory to see what we got there, huh? Okay. So we go to config.d. And we got that user conf. So we edit that. Okay, you can see it's pretty much open. There's nothing in, no customizations added here, but it's where you put them if you want there. Change the background image here. You can change your modifier key from your Windows key or meta key, super key, whatever you want to call it, to alt or back and forth. You can change your background image, your theme, and your waybar position waybar. Alright, just by commenting those things there, and then add them in. So let's go see what's in the exec one and see what you got there, huh? Okay. Then, yeah, so in CD we're going to go exec sway big D. Now we got a lot more stuff here to go through. If you want to go through all the stuff, auto start, generate, waybar config, that's where you set your data if I remember right. Help. Oh, there it is, enable term emulation config. So anyway, that's the configuration file. You have to go through all those lists. That's the difference between this and i3. Big difference in the configuration file. That's how you edit that. You can't always figure out where the right place to go to edit stuff. So Yeah. Tried it at the terminal, default terminal, and it didn't work. So, not sure what to do about that, but we'll figure it out later on. So, yeah, i3 is a lot easier to use in that regard because I like having most everything in one main file. It had the i3 status section in the etc. etc directory. Other than that, everything was all in one file. It's easy to edit and configure it, that kind of thing. It's a little more difficult, a little more, you gotta hunt and peck and stuff, things like that. Try to figure out where to change things at. Clear that out, and we're gonna go htop. You can see what kind of memory the uses has, 270 megabytes. That's pretty darn good, I'd say. Out of 4 megabytes, I've given this 4 gigabytes. 4 gigabytes I've given this VM machine, and pretty darn good, I'd say. 270 megabytes out of 3. That's a very small footprint. That's about the best thing about Sway you have. It's probably one of the lowest. Even on window manager, I think it's one of the lowest I've seen. Maybe some people have gotten lower window managers, like Exponent and some of those others, maybe. But yeah, pretty good. When window manager works, for those of you not familiar with dynamic tiling window managers, yeah, I can just enter. See how it divides up and then it cuts in smaller spaces. See the theme there? Yeah, now most of the time you're not going to have more than 3 windows, 2 or 3 windows, maybe 4 at the maximum on one workspace. But yeah, it'll just keep going smaller, smaller, smaller. Yeah, I had Sway work. I had a problem before on the computer I installed it on, where suddenly the keybind just stopped working for some reason. Yeah, so it's not very practical when that happens. Right now I can't close any windows because the key binding for closing windows will work. So anyway, that's what it looks like when you do a dynamically tiles your screen. So if I wanted to run Firefox on here, like that, and then I wanted to run, say, terminal, we'll do that number to it. I finally figured out how to do the background. As you can tell, I've changed the background on this puppy. I'll show you where to do that, and also I'll show you how to do the screen resolution. As you can tell, I got screen resolution fixed. I did both those things. So let's go at it over here. Okay, here we are on our thing now. If you go to can't type it with the darn today. Okay, you have your config file there. Now this config file that you see there is like right up here. This config file here is basically a like an i3 config file. It's not the same one that's in the user config files that is operating off of this pulling this information from. The first thing, let's look at the background. So you'll find that in your definitions basically. We're not going to change anything, so just need to look at it. And you have right there a background, set background. Now what you have to do is you have to find the wallpaper in the list of that you see. It's user share backgrounds, Sway as well as Manjaro Sway. 2 directories in there, and you have 2 different sets of wallpapers. Now I found one with that has the right resolution for my screen, and plugged it in here. When I plugged it in here, bada bing, bada boom. I reloaded the big file. It worked, and you see what you saw on the screen. Different sway than the one that's default when it comes up. So that's where you find that. You also find some other things like, see, I'm not really sure about this part. Preferred terminal emulator. Yeah, because it runs a script, basically terminal sh, that checks to make sure you have enough dependencies are met for you to show it. And so I wasn't able to set Kitty as my default terminal this way unless I just totally wipe this out and set term. You know what I want it to be is where I just say Kitty right here. But set term Kitty. That's where it gets terminators. But it checks to make sure it has the right OpenGL driver for it before it sets it. Yeah, so that's how that works. And so, but I can't seem to get the OpenGL above. It's got to be a 3.3 or higher, and I can't seem to get it set up to any higher than 3.1. So there you go. That's what the deal is on that. So that's that file. There's also other stuff here you can look at: definition, various status bar, command, way bar, all that kind of stuff. What position it's at, top, bottom, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Where you can set all those kind of things. Now, to change the resolution of your screen, however, was a bit trickier. I finally figured out it's an outputs. It's an outputs directory here. So cd outputs. I cannot type. It's default screen. So you nano into that. You'll see what I did there. Yeah, virtual-1 is the name of the monitor within this virtual machine. So you put output virtual-1 resolution 1920 by 1080, position 1920 to 0. I tried with 0 0, but it made it like it put it in this little corner here and made it about half as big, about like that. So that's not right. So I went and added that in like it showed on up here in this example that they give, and it worked perfectly. So yeah. So then every time it comes up and logs in or runs this config file, doesn't matter how many times I do it, back to the original size that it had set in there. That was the default. So that worked, and so that's how I did that. So that's how you can do that if you want a tip on how to set your screen resolution in there, or how to. I think what I need to do is I wanted to have a different, totally different, like a graphical or nature or something like that. As I get one of my photos, resize it to 1920 by 1080, and then put it in the files in the background list there, and add it to that screen, and bada boom, I have my new screen. But I don't have time to do that now, so this is an example to show I could do it. So that was i3 and Sway editions of Manjaro. I kind of liked how they did with the i3 edition. It looked real nice, I thought. You can make it even look nicer. And you can use it right out of the box without having to change one thing in the configuration file if you wanted to. So yeah, you don't even have to mess the configuration file. And you just go through Nitrogen, change wallpapers. You can theme it out like I showed you, that kind of thing. Or you can go ahead and tinker with it and learn on a computer that you don't mind screwing up if you mess up and you have to start over, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty nice. I think if I was gonna, I wouldn't recommend a window manager for a new Linux user that's just digging into this pretty much. but I think if they wanted to go with the window manager, this would probably be the best one for them. The configuration file is not written in any kind of programming language per se. It's just written in pretty easy to understand stuff, I think. Got plenty of examples in there what to do and how you configure things. Without any big issues or problems. Looks polished, and you make it even look better than you'd expect. Make it look like a regular desktop almost. Yeah, so that's Window Time Manager instead. The only thing I don't like about it is I kind of like the X-Monad tall layout, tiling layout, and apparently I'm going to have to do some more checking, but so far I haven't figured out a way to get that to happen. It either does vertical or horizontal, and you have to split it on your command. You have to hit a key to go the other direction automatically. Doesn't do that part dynamically, but it will split it into horizontal or vertical tiles automatically. So that's how you do it. And that's in Sway's another question mark altogether. Yeah, because you got, it's really not ready for prime time. It also doesn't have as much cheat sheet information on it. So you got to memorize all the key bindings. The menus are interesting. Wolfie, the Rofi. Doesn't use D menu, it uses Wolfie, which I assume is the Wayland version of Rofi. Yeah, it uses Wayland as its graphical display manager instead of X11. And so if you have a program like earlier versions of OBS other than 27, it doesn't run on it. It actually doesn't run 27 very well so far as I've tried 27 on it. And it didn't, OBS 27, and didn't seem to work very well for it. Not sure why, but I couldn't get the screen selected on it. So I tried, and I tried on another computer and get it to work. So there's that issue too. May want to consider that before. I would not recommend Sway for a new user at all. For a new user of Tiling Manager, I'd go with i3. So you can use that right out of the box just as it is. Configure anything else further. And you can customize a bit more to yourself using the GUI interface. And the only thing I recommend is, if you can get away with it, is installing Rofi on it. The D-menu works just as good, I think, for most people. You can find nitrogen on there and for usually checking wallpapers and stuff like that. And if you're new to window managers and you've been using Linux for a while, it's a good also starting place because it's just easy to use. And Manjaro does a good job of making it easy to use out of the box, making it look nice too on top of that. So I'd recommend it if you want a window manager. Good place to start. And the only thing, like I said, I like about the window manager is that it doesn't do quite dynamic tiling going like X-Monad Tall does. You have 3 layouts you're restricted to, and you can split it going vertically or horizontally as you please on any particular thing. It's an extra key to hit, or an extra key at all, to hit. So that's the way it is. Now Sway does actual dynamic tiling for like X-Monad Tall does. It's one advantage it has over i3, I think, but i3 is more polished by far. So that said, don't forget to like and subscribe if you have a mind to do so. Appreciate it. And I have a donation link down in my description if you want to check that out and donate and support the channel. May the Linux force be with you. Bye.